I don't know if you've heard this before, but there's a really cool story about the US President JFK in the mid 60s when he was going to NASA. And this is like mid 60s, like middle of the space race. So space was a big deal at the time. And he went to NASA a few times. This wasn't a once off. But on one particular visit, when he was walking through the halls, he ran into one of the janitors. And he's the president. He's nice. He's charismatic. He said hello. He said, "What are you doing today?" And the janitor replied, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." Now, we might be skeptical and say, like, he's a bit delusional. He's arrogant. Like, pff. But he's not. Purpose is important to everyone. Everyone wants to feel a sense of pride. I'm sure that janitor could have worked a different job to work somewhere else, potentially for more money. But that sense of pride is something that's just fundamental to people in general. And for some people, they direct this towards like material goods, like trying to get as much as they can. Other people, it's just exploring curiosity, just like this is fun. For other people, it's helping out their local community, helping out like on a local level and just letting the rest kind of seep out from there. But that's not up to them. But there's a subsection of the population, there's a fraction of the population where they want to give their life to something bigger. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because I think if you do not have a purpose, it's very easy to get lost and to try and numb it down. And I actually have like this kind of spectrum. I'll put up an infographic or something like that, just to help articulate this or to help illustrate it. Sorry. Because this has been in my head for the longest time. I think, and by the way, this is just my opinion. This is not based on research. This is an opinion piece, pure and simple. So we can even name it after me if we want for the crack. We're going to call it the CYC spectrum. So on your bottom left at the red section where it's negative or whatever, we're going to put like drugs. And this is because it's the most socially frowned upon sort of thing. But okay, we do have to defend the drug addict side of it or whatever in saying that they can also be a CEO of a high tech business or something like that. So it's not saying it's one or the other. It's just saying that the drugs are there to try and quench the hunger, trying to dull down the hunger, trying to numb it. So you're not quite as impatient, as desperate and furious to get where you're trying to go or to prove yourself or to do whatever. There's this like just it's too much, therefore needs to be kind of quenched down a bit. And by the way, this isn't all drug users, of course. I'm just saying here's different ways of displaying your hunger, your need, your drive. So one could be drugs. Okay, then like middle left or whatever will be alcohol, and the only reason this is higher is because it's more socially acceptable. That's pure and simple. That's it. It's the same thing basically, but you don't have to adjust your life quite as much to indulge in alcohol as you do have to when you're trying to indulge in drugs. That's okay. Anyway, then you're kind of like top left, which is still iffy. Okay, this is the one that's really going to get me in trouble because I'm going to put medication, like legal drugs, is going to be here. And again, not everyone on antidepressants, on anti-anxiety, are using them for this purpose. This isn't the one and only source or need or drive to go towards antidepressants or something like that. It's not. There's plenty of neurobiology and everything else. There's 100 different reasons to be on those drugs. I'm just saying, if you are hungry for more, this is a way to express it, or this is a hole you can fall into, or this is, I don't know, whatever way you want to phrase it. This is another way that you can kind of quench the hunger, make it more tolerable. Because maybe the hunger is just way too much and it's unrealistic and you know it, but you just can't work through it. Like whatever it is, I'm just saying that legal medication, that's where I put it in regards to dealing with this subset of the population. Look, we're going to lose a limb. I say this in too many videos. But either way, this is the spectrum. Okay, so then you have on your top right, on the positive side, is creation. And this goes for art, music, but it also goes for business, like basically creation of anything. Also goes for science. So if you are exploring, if you are bringing something into the world, if you are figuring stuff, if you're on a frontier, if you're basically that's it. If you're the tip of the spear, if you're pushing towards something new, something bigger than yourself, and you're actually aiming yourself in that direction, you are giving your life to this thing. And this does mean sacrificing time with family, or time with friends, or time with like doing hobbies, or like whatever else, that you are willing to sacrifice immediate personal pleasure to strive for something bigger that will pay off in the future, or whatever. That is your top right. Then immediately there afterwards, whatever, like on the right hand side, is creation despite failure. And this is when you recognize, when you build a business, or the first business fails, or you finish your first experiment, or you make your first album, or you do your first display in a museum or something like that. Like whatever your craft is. And it, like, by the way, this could be like doing gardens or something like that. This doesn't have to be highbrow, like anything like that. It's just whatever the creation thing is, whatever. Okay, we've explained that before in different videos. Anyway, so creation. There's the realization that this isn't, you won't be happy when it's produced, but that you're going to continue producing, creating, exploring, because it's now who you want to be. It's just like, I don't care if it pays off. I don't care if this no longer becomes valuable. I'm just going to, like, it's just who I am. It's what I do. That is that subsection. I think, because it's some form of self-actualization or something like that. And it's a bit more resilient, a bit more robust as well, because if the business does fail, you will not crumble. You will just recognize it's like, well, I guess I'll do a crap job and just start another business. It's like, why start another business? Is it because you're desperate for the money and for the social status and for everything else? No, it's just because it's who you are. That's that point there. And then on the bottom right, at the highest, this is like the very green side of this spectrum, is spirituality. And that's going to rub everyone up the wrong way, because, geez, it's not fashionable to be religious anymore and stuff like that. And I'm not saying religious, I'm saying spiritual. So, and the reason it's there is because on your deathbed, no one is going to be trying to grow their business. Everyone's going to be aiming towards spirituality. It seems to be the end game. It seems to be where everyone lands towards the end of their life. It means finding peace within, not needing to drive so much, not needing it. Okay, if this is a spectrum of people who are hungry, people who are driven and all the rest, spirituality is the cure. It stops you being driven, or it feeds the hunger. It just quenches that drive some bit. You can find inner peace. And you might think that's a negative and all the rest. But it's not. And by the way, I'm not trying to say skip past the creation stage either, because sacrificing yourself to bring stuff into the world is like, what else can we do? But I'm saying at a certain point in your life, you're going to need to recognize a successor, someone who's better than you and can carry your business further than you can. Or just, there's going to come a time where you will flip into old age and you'll want to take it easy. And at that point, spirituality will be the food for the hunger. Basically, and some people do skip the whole creation phase. They skip the whole thing and just skip straight down to spirituality and become a monk or like whatever else. And cool, like if they're happy, like that's awesome. But either way, okay, so that's how I represent it in my head. And again, it's not either or. There are multiple people who indulge in all of that. Every bit of it. But I don't know, just laying it out this way does help me for whatever reason. And if it helps you, that's going to be awesome. I would say that it's not fixed either. We do know drug addicts who have become CEOs, like Russell Brand, who will be in the thumbnail. He's like the most beloved British icon in the world, like at the moment. And he was a massive drug addict growing up, and is now has business and massive in spirituality. Like that's awesome. And there's other cases where it goes the opposite way, where the business crumbles and they just fall off and go straight to like drugs or alcohol. And then hopefully they rebuild themselves back up and they get back onto the more positive side. So it's not fixed. And at the start, we use the example of the janitor in NASA. So I do want to say it's not to do with IQ either. It's really not. And historically, it hasn't been that difficult to give your life to something bigger than you. You could join the Crusades, like, join the army and fight against the foreign religion or the communism or whatever. Not saying those wars were good, but it was a purpose that was bigger than you. And you could give your life to it. Now, I will say that the threshold nowadays is starting to get higher. So if you want to help Elon Musk, you got to know your stuff. And by the way, I'm not trying to blur the line between madness and genius. That line doesn't necessarily exist. Like, sometimes they do correlate, but there are plenty of geniuses who are not mad. Elon Musk, my favorite person in the world, is not mad. He's an outlier, and there might be loneliness in that. But he doesn't suffer with, crippling depression or anything like that. Or maybe that's easy said from a third person perspective, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And there are other cases of just very intelligent people standing on the shoulders of other very intelligent people and just pushing forward without the dysfunction, so I'm not trying to blur that line. If I was trying to say anything, I would say that the urge to give your life to something bigger, something more than you, to self-sacrifice with a purpose, is very easily mistaken for the urge to just give up your life in general. And that is depressing if true. But I would say give your life to something bigger. That's obviously the point there. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. And let me know what you think on this one, because as I said, this is not based on science. This is just a way that I've kind of conceptualized this for a long time, and it's the first time I'm actually saying it to anyone. So, I've talked to my friends about this for last week, and I've done this video like 5 different times, trying not to lose a fucking arm by just talking stupidly. So let me know what you think. I would very much appreciate it on this one. And I will see you next time, guys. Bye.